All right, looks like we're live. If you guys can hear me, let me know. We appreciate it. Little monster going. Some fuel. SEO this week. Welcome everyone to episode 168. I appreciate you all being here. Today is going to be a light week on this side of the news side. We only got 3 news articles, 2 posts for the tools and tips section, and then a interview. Meet the expert section will be Mike Pierce and Brad Mayberry from NFG SEO. We've talked about some of their ideas and concepts before, so I wanted to introduce the guys. They were nice enough to offer a free trial. If you're into that, you want to look into that, the trial is link is below in the descriptions, so you should be good there. And so with that, let's get going. Switch to the browser. There we go. So the first one is rendering SEO manifesto. That's why JavaScript is not enough. This one actually, we're talking about JavaScript a lot, not JavaScript SEO, and there's been a lot of posts about it. And there's also been a lot of talk about indexing problems. And one of the things that is, as JavaScript becomes more and more part of the web design, web development landscape, we're exposed to it more. But what we don't realize is that Google is just, it's kind of in the baby phases. If you remember, it wasn't all that long ago, JavaScript wasn't read at all by the Google bot. They weren't even rendering it. So they are building it up and they are growing, but there's still plenty of examples where JavaScript is being left out of what Google crawls and what Google indexes. And some of that JavaScript may be causing some of your indexing issues that you also see beyond just the regular, Google has crappy indexing right now. It could also be a little bit of your fault. So this post actually walks you through some things to look for, regardless of the platform you're using. See how much of your website's in JavaScript. Make sure everything is being viewed and read as the way it should, or as the way the developers intended it to be. And this can happen to anybody. It even happened to us. We have a website. It's got a great menu that does all the interlinking and stuff, but it's written in JavaScript and Google doesn't read it and doesn't crawl it. Here we thought we were doing smart interlinking and stuff inside of our menus, and it turns out that since the way that it's rendered, we weren't. So this is a good post for pretty much for everyone to get through, and you can add this to your technical audits for your client base or yourself if you're doing your own SEO. This one is it's a post from Bill. I don't even pronounce his last name, Schwarsky, I think it is. But he's the guy that's really famous for reading patents and all that other stuff. So you get beyond Mike Pierce. Get beyond Mike Pierce, who reads these patents, and you can look into Bill, who's primarily kind of leading the charge of those patent things. So, and he's talking about how Google's actually populating the entities inside of the search results. So in this case, he used like top 10 movies, and you have that carousel that lists the top 10 movies. So what this patent says is doing is, let's say you, me, and 8 others write a post about the top 10 movies. These are top 10 movies we like right now. It will look at those movie lists, compare those, and finds the ones that are common to all of those lists, and that's how it's populating that carousel. So in general, you as a user or us as publishers are doing the research for Google, and then they're populating that carousel with our information as a feeder for that carousel, and taking the clicks away from us and sending them to whatever it is that those the movie or the song or whatever, and doing that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. It's good to know. I would look at how do we take that information and turn that into how do we get our post or our page linked into those movies, etc. But I think that the authority of the publisher houses will actually trump us and go to the official websites of those movies, so that, or the store where you can buy them. Whatever makes more money for Google at the end of the day is probably where that's going to go to. And then finally, this is it's a schema post. I think I've gone ad nauseum on why you should be doing schema. I've talked in SIA, my own testing group, and then I talked in SEO spring training about, and I've even talked here on SEO this week, and why you should be doing advanced schema. Not the shit that you can buy in the plugin. Plugins make it easy for us, and it's so much faster, but you need to be doing the advanced stuff. And this kind of goes along those lines, and just the different types of schema that you can look at. There's actually one new schema in this post that I wasn't aware about. And there's plenty of schemas that I'm not aware about, but there was one in here that I wasn't aware about that I can be able to implement pretty quickly and test into my advanced stuff and balance that and get more out of it. So if you need any more along the way of proof of why you should be doing schema, why you should be writing your schema out, then here's another article. Keep in mind, this goes along with this post was generated because of that in links test in SEO Signals Lab. I don't know how many of you are in that group, but before occasionally when they put out some decent SEO information in there, there was a test from that InLinks did and added mentions to the schema, and you got some improvements just from doing the mentions stuff. So if you can just get one improvements doing the mentions, why not try these other features too and level that out some more. Tools and tips, 106 free data sources. This is actually a really good curated list of things that you can do, especially if you're looking for, we talked about Pinterest SEO and creating infographics. Those data sources are really great to do that. You don't even have to do your own research. Just go to these data sources, find that information, give it to your graphics design person, put it in a infographic, and then share it. Put it on your page and then share it on Facebook or on Pinterest, and you're off to the races. Depending on the topics and the looks of the graphics, you can get a lot of backlinks out of Pinterest doing that. And you can also promote that too. Just offer your own embed code on the and email that out to people, or just email out the link to the page and put the embed code on your page, and then you get a backlinking source right off the bat for you. One thing to note is the white hat crowd has turned that into you're evil because you gave the embed code. So go ahead and put the no follow link attribute in there. Remember, Google is using no follows as hints now. They've been using hint as a hint forever, but now it's official a hint. So you're still going to get the link juice regardless of whether people are putting a no follow or not in there. So I would just do no follow and save yourself or your client the drama of the white hat who does narc SEO for a living versus actually ranking their own stuff. They just take you down, and that's how they win. So get ahead of that with the no follow tag, and you'll be good. And this next tool, it's actually a tip. It's a feature snippet tracker in Google Tag Manager. As you can see there, it only works in Chrome for right now. But if you're smart enough and you can figure it out, I'm sure that this came about from feature snippets. I think it was last week I shared it, that if you have featured snippet, you click it, and then in Chrome, wherever that featured snippet came from, Chrome will actually highlight that paragraph for you, so you don't have to search for it, which is cool. But you can't track this. And I'm not sure if it works in Firefox. I don't use it on a regular enough basis to know. I use Chromium inside of Ghost. So, but you use this, and you can actually get a little bit of a decent see what kind of your CTR is, even just among Chrome users, and you kind of figure out from there the other browsers, and just look at how many people came to that page from a different browser. figure out the same CTR percentage, and then you can figure out your true CTRs that way. That seems like a good thing. The author says that this doesn't work with AMP. As you can see there, I added that part. And then it also said that this might be temporary, so Google might fix it. I don't know why they would. It seems to me that would be good information for everyone to know what your CTR is. But, what Google supposedly fixes and doesn't is, that feature's been around for so long. I don't anticipate it going away. So this will probably work for quite some time. So if your play is going after feature snippets, I don't really worry about it. If I get it, great. If I don't, I don't care. But if your play is going after featured snippets and you want to highlight how much value that is, especially if you're reporting to someone, i.e. client or a boss, then this is a good way to do that. I looked through the setup. It's not really all that complicated. It talks about a lot about writing codes and all that madness, but it's pretty much all there for you. So you just copy, paste, and go. So that's a good one. Okay, so that's all these stories. I don't see any questions about the stories. So they're all pretty self-explanatory. Nothing groundbreaking this week from anyone. I used like 15 data sources looking for stories this week and didn't find anything really cool. So that's what we got. Let's see. Back to camera. Let's see. There is a question from Jay on the schema. I can answer that one at the end, Jay, if you don't mind, after the meet the expert thing, just because that's a little bit longer. And there's some reasons why you would use parts of default, and then reasons why you want to write your own. So I'll go into that one after the meet the expert section. Okay, so as I said, this is Mike Pierce and Brad Mayberry from NFG SEO. We talked for a little over 20 minutes. Again, they gave you, at the end, we talk about their NFG monthly thing. It's not an affiliate link, but the link to it is in the description. It's a 7-day free trial. And Brad tells you the part that he recommends that you jump into on the trial, so you can actually just get the most out of it and see what's up. So here we go. Okay, everyone, welcome to the next episode of Meet the Experts. This time I am with Mike Pierce and Brad Mayberry from the NFG SEO crew. I don't know if you guys have been exposed to them a lot. I've been following you two probably for at least 2 years now, maybe more, and then talked to both of you on and off in different groups, etc. So I'm glad that you two are aboard. Thank you for showing up.
No, thanks for having us.
I wanted to get into last week we had Marco Benavides from Semantic Mastery on, and we talked about masterminds and stuff, and the SEO stuff, and it's all great topics. But you guys talk it all day long, and then I talk it all day long, and people get tired of hearing our voices. So I wanted to go along more along the lines of who the hell you are, and then how you met, and then decided, hey, let's create this experience of NFG monthly is what you got going on now.
Yeah. Brad, do you want to jump on that, or you want me to take that?
Yeah, I mean, basically I paid a bunch of money to go to an event. Mike was a speaker there, and then we got involved in some debauchery probably at the event. Got along. Usually most people don't get my humor. I kept yelling at him, but he's way up there. So it's, one of those. And so we got along, started working on some projects together, had a lot of fun. And then eventually we kicked NFG off by doing that first live event where we attached to another event because everyone was going to be there. So I said, hey, everyone's already there. Let's just have them stay an additional 2 days, teach them some really cool shit. And then, we had people ranking by the time they left our 2-day event that year. So that was pretty cool. And then we ended up helping few people with their masterminds, actually for Jimmy, that's the event that we met at. So we helped Jimmy with his event. He ended up wanting to close that at some point. So we ended up, circling back and getting to NFG monthly eventually. But yeah, and Mike and I work on the NFG monthly as well as a bunch of PPL campaigns and some client stuff. But I much prefer the PPL stuff just because I don't have to deal with clients.
Yeah. Now, Brad, it was a good event. We had a good time, and I think that was 2015, and it's probably been no looking back since. We've been doing pretty much everything together since then. It's when we got married.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brad, I don't know if not many people know about this about you, and I didn't until NFG Rockstars. Is you actually are an amateur fighter? Correct me if I'm wrong, with MMA as well.
I did, yeah, way back in the day. Now I just box, I train, but yeah, I got in the cage. I'll have to post. I'll shoot you a video after this. But yeah, I did jujitsu. I wrestled in high school, and then did jujitsu intermittently when I was in college, whenever I could go. Whenever I wasn't slammed. And then I took like 10 years off, got fat, and then decided I wanted to lose weight and joined boxing because I'd never really done stand up. So yeah, now I box a few times a week. Can't really spar right now because of Corona, but I can hit the hell of a bag right now.
A little Brad Mabry trivia. He got asked to fight on Showtime maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
He declined.
Yeah, I declined. But everyone still calls me Showtime at the gym now. So.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, Mike, you're kind of, I kind of classify people, as I know, as there's like the nerds like me that can kind of figure stuff out and troubleshoot stuff. And then there's the super nerds like you who are reading patents and stuff. What is your background so that you can understand all that madness? And like just before
I'm a high school dropout, actually. So I tested out. The first time I took my ASVAB was at 17, but my family's mathematicians. They defense contract. My grandfather he was the engineer on the Viking space shuttle. My great-grandfather is a well-known mathematician. It's kind of in blood. So I think it just kind of came naturally. I enjoy it for some reason. I don't know why. So the patterns fascinate me. And I think that's why it's been so easy for me to understand what's going on in that kind of nerdy kind of area. Because I find it fascinating, and is why, something about ADD lets me go ahead and sit down and do that while I'm doing something else and read it. Like it's fun to read, like it's a Lula Moore book or something like that. So
super nerd comes into blood. That's awesome. And then you led into SEO. What was your first like SEO experience? Were you like, I started out in Black Hat and working with adult stuff, and then same thing
with adult for me. I started doing affiliate stuff back in 2001, something like that, and then eventually worked into a studio, and then grew up and had children and got out of that market a little bit. But it started, I think adult built the web anyways. So everything that we're doing now, I can look back in adult in the early 2000s and we were doing it then. So I really don't think much has changed other than some of the key aspects. I'm not going to say SEO hasn't changed or anything, but when it comes down to it, the core of everything I think that we all do hasn't changed that much when you actually implement the right systems and the right scripting and everything. So I definitely got to start.
Right. And how about you, Brad? How'd you get started?
I started selling crap on eBay. It was in the midst of the recession. So I worked for a company at the time. So I was like, hey, can I sell these factory seconds, or can I sell these headers? Can I sell this? It was an automotive parts manufacturer. And they're like, yeah, sure. How are you going to sell it? I was like, eBay, I guess. So I started selling on eBay. Got tired of the final value fees and stuff. They were taking a big chunk. And so I wanted to learn how to make my own website. So I took like online web development courses at like the local, community college or something, all online. Got my web design certificate, built my own site, started e-com from there, pushed traffic and stuff through forums, and like we sold headers for Cobalts. So I had a site that was all about that, sold those, had the crappy looking PayPal, buy button from back in the day. Did that, and then I got tired of drudging through the forums to generate traffic, so I started looking into SEO and stuff like that, and started doing that, and then got into some PPL, but then eventually got out of it. But just SEO has been a rabbit hole that I got into in like 2010 or maybe before, after learning web design, and it's ever evolving. So Just been digging into that. So I've had some clients, but eventually I always go back to PPL because I'm say F clients at some point when I'm dealing with them. So yeah.
Our last
I did
experience
it.
with clients was horrible.
Yeah, they can
We
be.
had someone bring us a campaign to implement, and they ended up leaving or whatnot, and we had to fulfill it. So it turned into a nightmare. I'm not a big fan of client work. I mean, there's a place for it. I think an agency is a good thing to have. It's a good baseline. But as Brad said, I'd much rather be generating revenue somewhere else and doing that to build relationships and diversify a little bit. Brad, shift onto your left arm. There you go.
So you guys obviously don't know the clients, so I want to talk a little bit about tactics because everyone wants to hear a tactic or something like that. And you guys are known for a few things, and I've talked about on the show, and I've talked about in SIA some of the stuff that you guys teach. Giving you full credit, of course, because I shamefully steal from everybody, so I don't give a damn. So you guys talk about PBNs, and I think that's actually when I started following you guys is when you did that first event with Jimmy, and you were talking about PBNs, but you refer to them in a different way, but it's also kind of in the same way that I refer to them. So in my opinion, if I'm going to take the time to buy a domain, put up a website, and make it valuable and important and link to my money site, then that damn thing better be paying some money out of its own, right? So you guys think of it along the same way, but you call them mini nets. So Can you just kind of describe that process? Maybe, obviously you don't want to give away all your stuff because you're getting paid for this too, but how do you decide the domain, and then just the brief overview of the build out and your monetization methods for this?
Yeah, it all kicked off because Mike had mentioned Revenge of the Mini-Net. So if anyone hasn't read that, go on Google, search for Revenge of the Mini-Nets, and read that. Don't follow the exact linking diagrams because they show closed link wheels and stuff like that. But as far as relevance comes into play, that's what you need to follow. And that thing was written in what, 2004, Mike? Something like that?
Yeah, 2004 or 6, something like that. That was the second one or third copy,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But it's like the Bible for SEO, in my opinion.
It is, yeah, especially for link building, thematic relevance, stuff like that. So what I want to do is I want to go out and I want to find something that is relevant, has relevant links from authority websites in that niche, not authority websites as in like Yellow Pages or something like that, but authority websites in that niche. So if I'm going substance abuse, I'm going to look for substance abuse directory. I'm going to scrape the crap out of it, find expired domains because I don't like waiting on auctions to end. I don't want to waste my time on a URL that I might not be able to get. So I'll go out. I'll make sure that has at least a handful of national seed site level in that niche links going to it. I set that up and I build it out as if it were a landing page or a lead generation website for me on different IPs. And then you can start linking them together if you want, or you can just tier it straight from there. But then you've got something that's 100% relevant. You put some relevant content on there. It's hopefully ranking for some stuff. I always do like some geo or really long tail type terms so you can get traffic to the site. Build it up if we want to do some tiered link building to that site. That's why I don't worry if it doesn't have a crap ton of links going to it, as long as they're relevant, because we can always build the power up later. And then us linking to it ranks it, and then that ultimately pushes our top level money site that is our our retirement plan type site.
And if you actually are familiar with the way the bot mechanism works, there's 3 aspects to it. When it comes down to the crawler and the clusterizer, the relevance is absolutely key. So the intent and the topic is what's going to make your campaign, in my opinion. And once you understand these core concepts, it doesn't matter if you're using PBNs, link, if you're using social, if you're using anything, everything becomes that same edge. And if they're relevant and you know how that relevance ties together, you can really make everything kind of funnel up together, kind of get buoyant together and kind of rise up to the top and churn it up, So definitely needs to pay for itself. I want to reiterate that the money is important. This is a business. This is not just I want to rank for fun. We all want to eat and buy lunch meat and feed our kids. So it's important that everything does make a profit. You don't want to have anything that's a sink. I mean, that's bad business if something's just, you're just paying for something. There's no reason to have it. Cut it. If it's going to sound harsh. If it's an employee, if it's a website, if it's not making you money, it really probably doesn't belong in your business. So
even for client work, like I had a personal injury client come on at one point, and I went out and built a full, I call them a mini net of mini nets. So it's multiple mini nets, so multiple PBN style sites built out how I explained in that niche. So motorcycle accident lawyer, one was targeting like wrongful death, one was, and went for a bunch of different zip codes. And that started ranking. And then once they were ranking, I linked it up to there. And I also put my affiliate tracking number on there. And I got paid whenever someone would visit my mininet and, click the call button. So I was kind of double dipping, getting paid from the client to rank their site, which I was, and getting paid from the PPL stuff as well.
We call that diversification, not double dipping.
You can call it whatever you want.
Multiple streams of income. Okay, so let's go on into NFG monthly. You decided to make this course, and I joined probably a month ago. I finally decided to start giving you guys money, and you got I want to say there's 85 videos in there. What are some of the things that you guys talk about and teach?
One of the things that I'm excited about that we just added when we launched NFG Monthly was, first off, we got a bunch of GMB information in there if you want to, because that's my number one monetization method for driving calls and for driving the PPL. So we've got a bunch of GMB stuff in there. But the thing that I'm most excited about in the series that I did personally for NFG Monthly was the automation portion of it. So and that is not showing you exactly how to automate, but showing you that you can automate and how to think about it, how to put a spec sheet together for a guy to build you out a bot. You don't build them by hand or anything. I don't know how to do it. I've got my freelancer in Poland. He can build pretty much anything. If you can do it by hand, he can do it, himself, or he can build a bot for it. So it's all about freeing up time, so you can either use that time to spend with your family, or you can use it to make more money, or both at some point. But so that's my biggest thing is people, in my opinion, in this industry feel like they should be working harder than they have to.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of that's honestly where the NFG mindset came from. So because for anyone that doesn't know, it stands for no fucks given, because we saw so many people being paralyzed by thinking about it too much, paralysis by analysis. So it's like, let all that go, focus on the task at hand, get these set up, and go from there. So with our bots in the past, I mean, we've run full 50,000 a month campaigns with, I go in and hit a button, it would, the bot would go out and buy the domain, set it up, use this software program to build it out, then it would build it out, and then we were cloaking for that campaign, so it would then go out and set up the cloaking to whatever site I told it to, and hit a button, and then people leave you alone on a campaign if they see that many sites being pushed out. They're like, oh, Brad's busy, don't bother him, and I'm just sitting here like looking around, like looking for something to do. But yeah, that's where real wealth, in my opinion, comes from, is having the time to do what you want, not being stuck to the desk. I can't leave, I can't go on vacation because what if, shit goes down, That's what I try and get people to focus on, is automating their daily tasks, automating everything if they can.
Automation is extremely important. You mentioned Marco. I met him when I automated my social. He helped me alpha test Social Explosion back when I sold it to Network Empire. And that's one of the things I think that I always kind of pulled Brad and I together, was the fact that we'd rather have a bot doing it than hiring a VA or a team of VAs. So it just doesn't make sense to me to have 13 people doing something that you maybe 2 VPSs and a bot can do. So
a lot cheaper to do the bot too.
A lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And Mike, you talk a lot about wanting to help the community. You're tired of listening to the gurus, as it were, because that's a bad word now. Giving out information and stuff. And how are you approaching that in your teaching style when you're talking to your members?
I have a feeling that we probably spend more time with our membership than a lot of people. We've always traditionally pulled our campaigns out of our membership, so we end up working with a lot of people that end up coming in. So traditionally, I mean, Angel, there's so many people that I've met through just this kind of networking. That's the reason why we've always done events as well, because I want to meet people, I want to shake their hand, and I want to see if we can do business together. So to me, there's more money to be had with the people around you than there is sitting by yourself. I know a number that people get stuck at pretty much anytime they're solo. There's a good portion of people that get stuck around 30,000 a month, and they can't break that if they don't end up networking or branching out from there. And there's some that get past it really quick. That they're very few and far between, though, compared to the hundreds that we've seen. So just making sure that everyone gets together and helps each other. We're not trying to take credit for anybody. So the membership can add a lot that we don't have. People have experience. You have experience with things I don't have. We've got people in the group that have experience with things I don't have, but they can teach those around them. So if we're not learning, I feel like we're stagnating. So it's important to be in a part of a community. I was solo for a long time. I was solo till I met Brad, pretty much. Jimmy, maybe. I worked with Jimmy quite a bit before Brad, but once I realized that there's much more money to be had with everyone around me than just actually not, I didn't even know the industry existed. I was in it for over a decade before I realized there was so marketing crap around it, right? And then maybe 2015 is when I realized, hey, there's people that are doing this. It's not just me, right? So once I figured that out, the money opened up really to an exponential level.
Nice. So I want to close it out, give you guys a chance to talk about how to join, how to find you guys. Just say hey, maybe drink a beer.
I can actually give you a free trial link. If nfgseo.com/7, the number 7, not spelled out SEVEN. So nfgseo.com/7, that'll give everyone a free 7-day trial if they want to poke around and check it out.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
So fire up the box and grab it.
Yeah, exactly. Get the automation bots. Free course. If that 7 days, obviously I said there's like 85 videos in there. If you had to pick one, which one should they watch to get the best experience for you guys?
I would go through PPL Academy, probably. We put a whole course that we had done, and that's all about generating cash flow through PPL, which ties perfectly into if you've already got like an SEO agency type business up and running, you can have that going in the background. It's going to be an easy add-on to it. So I would go through the PPL Academy videos first before anything. And get in that mindset of just cash flow generation, making money in the background. So it frees you up to, like I said, either spend time with your family or make more money.
Yeah. Business first, SEO second. I mean, there's SEO information all over it, but the business aspect is, I think, what a lot of people miss when they get really deep into like loving SEO. They start to forget they need to make money with it. So
yeah, you get a lot of hack chasers, which is cool. I love a good hack, but if you're always chasing that, then you're always going to, be behind, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I know you just got off another one of your epic 2-hour-long webinars, so I appreciate you spending the time with me.
We had fun.
Yeah, thank you, Clint. Appreciate it.
I actually enjoyed that interview and got a lot of good nuggets, especially talking the PBN stuff, just because of the way that they think of how to do PBNs. I talk about all the time that we should be doing those, and you should be making those be worthwhile to you, and they should be a profit center. So if you're doing, let's say if you're doing a lawyer and you have to build a PBN for the lawyer, then go out and find related things, related offers, even some PPL offers, and you have a personal injury lawyer as your client, and then go and find some bankruptcy or some mesothelioma. The new one is the earplug offer. And build some sites like that to capture some phone calls for PPL, and then link to your money site at the same time. So you're creating really real sites and then you're also building a good, nice, proper PBN for your clients. So you get the, just kind of double dip, as it were, on what you're doing, and leverage that for the best possible return on investment. You can also put Google. I know this is people are gonna be shocked. You can put Google AdSense on your PBNs, and publish those. You're putting good, honest, solid content on it because you want to get the most bang out of the links that you're sending. So then you put AdSense on there and monetize those. And essentially, when I tell people is hide in plain sight, I'm literally hiding in plain sight. So that's how you kind of handle that now for the thing. So the link that you talked about, the monthly NFG monthly, if you want to try it out and check out the sales page, you can join temporary. I think you said it was a 7-day trial, and the link is in the description there. Check it out. Like I said, I pay for it. It's worthwhile. For a nugget or two each one of their webinars. They have a monthly webinar, and you get a nugget or two out of that, so you can apply and add to your systems, or just test things. So check that as it goes. All right, let's get into the questions and answers part. You guys are kind of loading it up. And then, let's see, I got to scroll all the way up here. So we get to Jay's. Jay's question is, when using WordPress themes and plugins that add schema by default, would you disable it if you're writing your own JSON? So I use SEO Press Pro, and the reason I do that is because it's got some good features. In particular, the main features I like is that you can set up custom schema. So you can turn off their default schema and put your own custom schema in there. But you can also use features that are set up inside of it. So for example, breadcrumb schema. Like, who wants to manually write the breadcrumb schema on every post? So I turn breadcrumb schema on, and it takes care of it for me. So I would leave that on, and then I also, depending on the use case, I have the organization turned on, just so that the blog will automatically do the article schema, and then do the organizational schema. I could write better article schema, but I just, if you don't really have the time to do that and you can't keep up with your content team, it's good to have just something in there for now. And then you can go back if the article is getting a lot of traction and you see, like, for example, you share it on social and it gets a lot of traction, a lot of people like it. Well, that was probably worthwhile to rank, right? So you go in there and then you can shut off the default schema and turn on and do your custom schema for that one thing. So that's why I use that SEO plugin. And it allowed me to import directly out of Yoast too. So it's easy to transition a client website out of Yoast, for example, right into SEO Press. There's a member in the chat who mentioned Rank Math. I've heard a lot of good things about it. It's becoming increasingly popular, but it's also just one of those plugins that, here's all these schemas. We all have them all in there, but they're really only using the defaults of what Google's developers thing said, right? So they're giving you the very minimum that you need to do according to what Google developers said, and not in line with what you would do if you're writing it on your own. So I can't tell you guys this enough. Stop being lazy, and let me be more direct. Stop being a fucking lazy ass and write your own manual schema. You only have to do one template for your client. You do it out once. In particular, organization, website, web page. That's all the same template. You use the same thing on every one of them, and you just modify that one little section. So you do a template and do one for articles, and then you just fill in the blanks of that article every time you go. It takes you even less time than it would to fill out a plugin, the fields inside of a plugin. So write the templates out for yourself. Stop relying on these developers who are really, at the end of the day, they're kind of profiting off your laziness and giving you half-ass schema that is not going to help you rank. I've tested them. I've tested the different fields. I could tell you they're not doing anything. You're wasting your time. So write manual schema. I don't know anymore. I can't be any more clear than Let's see. Max, what are you using now for CTR manipulation? I have CTR Rocket from Chad. Forget his last name. It's the same software that Holly Starks was pimping a while back when she was into CTR for like 2 weeks. But Chad is actually doing a decent job with that. But I don't use it a lot because, as we talked about last week, you use CTR manipulation, you can rank, but as soon as you stop, your ranking disappears. So it's not a long-term play. It's certainly it's if you're newsjacking, use CTR manipulation. If you're doing a launch jack, do use CTR manipulation. If you're trying to rank something for a long term, don't do it unless you got a computer that can do and just run that bot over endlessly to the end of days. So that's how that. So that's what I'm doing. So, like I said, I don't really do a lot of CTR stuff, but that's when I'm using CTR Rocket. And there's maps. There's got a YouTube. There's search results, and then he added a feature for me for Bing, so you can. There's a lot of things you can play around with that. Let's see. I'd like to learn about salience. I heard NFG's guys talking about salient entities and stuff like that. It's going to be a good episode in the future. It's just it's a brainiac word. So we already talked about entities and using those. So salient entities is pretty much right along with it. You know what I mean? So if you talk about salient and the definition of salient, which is, I Google it, most notable or important, right? So if that's the official definition of it, if you're talking about salience and salient entities, basically, if you're a Quora user, you're already getting the salient entities. You look at the graph, and then these are the ones that correlate mostly with most of the top X number. In our case, 10 is what I use. And then you get a list of 5 to 15 different salient entities. Most important, these are the ones that are with it. So it's not, don't let the big words fool you. These nerd guys like to talk with big words just because they have the vocabulary for it. But at the end of the day, that's what it means. The most popular. Let's see. I remember I asked if I could use a plugin in Interlink. Clint told me the same thing. Yep, there you go. Stop being lazy. It's really not that hard, especially if you take the time to build out a mind map. And you kind of do that in advance because you're going to do your keyword research anyway. So while at the same time you're doing your keyword research, why not build out your little silo in a mind map? And there you go. If you do it on Lucid Chart, that should be the name of it. Yeah, lucidchart.com. And make those public. You actually create backlinks to your website at the same time. So you're doing keyword research, you build a mind map, you build your silo out, you link to, as you build your silo out, you put the URLs on your mind map, and then you set backlinks to your mind map. Now you have, you're instantly building, you already started your backlink process. So let's see, if a domain change was totally necessary, would you keep the old domain as a landing page for a specific local service, canonicalize a new domain to the new domain and redirect the remaining pages, or just 301 everything? I would 301 everything. If I'm just doing a whole brand from domain to domain, you can actually, and you don't change the underlying URL. So domain.com / blue hat widgets, right? So if the blue hat widgets is going to remain the same, just do a domain 301 redirect, and it'll do the page to page and all that stuff for you. If we're going to rebrand it and change the whole entire URL structures and all that madness, what I do is I'll look at the ones that have the most backlinks. So I'll rebuild those pages and then 301 those pages individually. And then I will watch, depending on the size of the site, I'll watch traffic for 404s that come from backlinks or whatever source. And then if there's a consistency of topic, I'll redirect those domains to the specific page that is most closely relevant to it. That's also the way I do 301s when I'm buying domains for 301s. Is you do the 301 domain to domain, you'll see all those 404s pop up, and then you just change that, and it gets rid of the soft 404 error, and then you can kind of specifically figure out where that traffic came from by looking at the old URLs that triggered the 404, and then know, okay, so they're looking for blue socks, for instance. And I have, or let's say turquoise socks just for this. So I have turquoise socks. I don't have turquoise socks in my store, but I do have blue ones. So I'll redirect it to that blue socks page versus ones that are going for magenta where I can redirect to red. Does that make sense? Oh, let's see. And then, yeah, okay. This looks like that's it for questions. I didn't really have anything on the agenda for lessons today. I did have a question about PPL in the comments from last episode, and how about my thoughts on that and going through it. And I think we scanned over it enough because we looked at that Mac Diggity post and then the different affiliate groups or tool or organizations that offer that kind of thing. So we were at one point going over, and I was building, if you remember, Paul Foster Roofing, and as a part of the episodes for SEO this week. And I was going to build that out, but I started in Divi, and I decided that I hated Divi with a passion. So I deleted that site and kind of ended that thing. And then I went on a 6-month hiatus. So what we'll do is, because I do want to get back into PPL on a smaller scale. I'm doing a PPL site right now. It's 8 million pages long. There's 8 million pages on this website, which is it's essentially a PPL model. I think we talked about it before. Find us now. So, but I'll do a smaller one, and we'll bring that Paul Foster Roofing back because I still have the domain, and it's still a good. That's still a good PPL kind of market to get into. And we'll just start off in Arizona because that's where I'm at, and we'll just hit the cities, and we'll just kind of build that out as part of the ongoing series with SEO this week. So we can get into a little bit of the PPL thing, and then we'll go to start off with the keyword research again. We'll start it all over. Keyword research. We'll look for places that can give us offers to redirect those phone calls to, and then we'll go from there. I think that'd be good to carry that off. So let's see. I don't see any more questions. So if that is that, let's see. Oh, there's one, Christoph. What do you think of the news that Google's going to link analytics and search console data again? I think that's actually good. My thought behind it is that they have Data Studio and they see that everyone's doing it anyway. So why not just kind of skip the middleman of Data Studio, save the API resources, and then just combine those so that if I'm in one of those tools, if I'm in Analytics or Search Console, I should be able to see the tool that's connected to it. I thought that would be the intent of them adding the Search Console connection to Analytics in the first place. And it'll clear up a lot of the privacy stuff, I was hoping. But, the API's connections are doing that now anyway. So if they're going to make that information available, which I hope they continue to do, they might as well just tie it up into one system and make that a little bit easier for everyone to do. So I call that a win for us as webmasters. Let's see. Will that be part of the course, or you do that for YouTube show? I'm gonna do the PPL with Paul Foster Roofing as part of the show. It'll give me something to do, so just so I don't have to worry about trying to figure out lessons and stuff. We kind of know where we're going, right? Is PPL the same thing as lead generation? Yeah, it pretty much. PPL is the same thing. So you generate. In PPL, it's pay per lead, right? So the typical model would be you build in our case, we're going to build a roofing website. We'll have phone numbers on the website. And then for any specific page, we just find a roofer that is in the city for that page that wants roofing leads. And then we redirect the phone number. We would just put a call tracking number in there, run through a service. Record the phone calls. That's important. Record the phone calls and then forward them to your roofer. The idea behind recording the phone calls is, one, you get this to look at a time. So you make an agreement with the person you're selling those phone calls to 2 minutes or longer, and that's a lead. If you talk to that person for 2 minutes, that's a lead. The goal there is that if you're talking to that person for 2 minutes longer and you're not converting the leads I'm sending you, then it could be that you are just a shit salesman, right? Or whoever's answering your phone is not doing the leads right. And also you get that information by recording those calls and get some fraud. And then if you're recording the calls, maybe you have a really in tune business owner that knows that the secretary is not a roofer, for example, and you're like all your leads are dried up, but your phone's working, you're getting phone calls. What's going on? You can go back to those recordings with the owner and kind of look at those and find out what the problem is. Maybe she's just not giving you the information, or she's not getting the right information, or she's not passing the messages on soon enough, or whatever. So that's kind of what PPL is. And then you can take lead generation to a whole new level and go, talking about email submits, text message submits, and all that other stuff too. There's different verticals there too. So, let's see. Are you doing any GMB? For the roofer, we'll look at that. I have a couple methods to on building maps, but I don't really get into a lot of map stuff anymore, just because we have at OverTT we can make a lot of maps if we want to. So we had one client, we built and made 100 maps. And the problem is, one, if the client can't convert to phone calls, then they can't pay their bills, and they're no longer a client, right? And then the second is that if you're going to invest all that time in the maps and ranking the maps, blah, 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 then I prefer them to be more permanent. So I hate putting a whole bunch of work into something that's going to get shut down. In particular, if you're talking about, the narc SEOs that are complaining because you're beating them because you were smart enough to put your keyword in your business name when you establish your business. So they get you shut down all the time. Or in rehab, for example, we have a rehab clinic that we own part of the clinic. We have a stake in it, right? And every time we have 35 locations, but every time their competition gets pissed off, they go through and report our alarm apps, and Google closes them down, and then we got to jump through hoops again. And that's just not something that I find enjoyable. So if we do the PPL thing with the GMBs, I think I'd be fine going over that with everyone, minus the map verification method. Hope you don't mind. I don't care if you mind. We're not going to do it. I'm not going to go over it. And let's see, automation. Sorry, automation. We can talk about what I use for the phone calls for PPL, and then the rest of that automation stuff. It just really, where that comes on the line is let's find this. Like Bradley was talking about, let's find this hack, and then how do we automate that hack so it doesn't take us time. Or how do we automate building content? Or how do we automate building backlinks and all that stuff? So that's really where that automation stuff comes in. I don't really have much for that. I am re-examining the schema SaaS I want to build. I actually found a more legit dev team. They do mobile apps primarily, but they're fully capable of making web SaaS. So I gave them the access to what I want to do, and we'll see where that goes. And then, aside from that, I don't really have a lot of quote unquote automation that pretty much anyone else doesn't have access to. So maybe we'll think about doing a series on Zen Poster and trying to figure that madness out, or at least some tools that go along with Zen Poster to automate some ideas and processes. But for the most part, if it's not building a backlink, I'm probably not automating it. And let's see, I'm doing lead gen case study for my channel. Yeah, lead gen case study is probably the easiest way to go. You find out, what works, what doesn't, and then go from there. Build some audience. right, guys, thank you very much for all the questions. Again, I'll go ahead and just start planning now for the PPL series. The next couple of Meet the Expert guests is one to be Bruno. What the heck's his last name? It's Bruno Souza. You guys have probably seen him around pimping Go High Level. We're going to talk to him. He's kind of taking that by the horns. It was a good way to get his name out there, and he's now identified with Go High Level, right? And then Marty Marion, we're going to talk to him about brand positioning. And then a guy that I have known for quite some time is Derek Booth, and he's got a really cool way of talking about finding keywords and stuff. So we're going to try to get him on, and then we'll see from there. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week for SEO this week.